If rotational dating makes you anxious or jealous, it is not because you are insecure. It is because your nervous system hasn't been reprogrammed yet. I used to suffer in silence when my partner even talked to another woman. Today, I teach women how to date without jealousy. And let me tell you, jealousy is not a red flag. It is a nervous system response, and it can be healed. That is the good news. So today, I'm going to take you through a journey of healing the disturbing emotion of jealousy. Here, we are applying it, of course, to dating, and specifically rotational dating, because what I teach here is dating for marriage. So I help high-achieving women who used to be or still are a bit too much on their masculine wound to heal it, to embody the dream woman and marry right. We do this using the techniques of rotational dating because we are here for the women who is traditional, who wants to build empire while having provision from her husband, while being taken care of, while being led in the external world, so she can lead the internal world and the emotional world. That's why we focus so much here on healing the disturbing emotions in general. And specifically, this playlist, we will be teaching healing jealousy in dating, and specifically in this type of dating, the rotational dating. Just so you understand a little bit more about this playlist, we will go through 3 main points, 3 main stages. The first one, which is the one we are going to cover today, is healing jealousy that you feel. So the jealousy that I feel when I'm rotational dating and, I have my main interest in a man and, I know he's also rotational dating, so this can cause me, some kind of jealousy. I know he still sees other women around. We still don't have a commitment, and this sparks some jealousy. Or I'm already committed, and then as long as this man is talking to another woman, I feel jealous. This kind of jealousy, this kind of emotion is what we are gonna be focused on today. The second step is what to do and how to heal from when this man, imagine we are committed or we are already married, and this man is showing a lot of jealousy to us, and so this could be what to do and how to heal, because even though it comes from outside, there's always something inside because we are mirroring. So how to heal and how to, in some cases when it's extreme, we need to detach from it and learn how to step aside in a way or help, because we are in marriage for healing, how to help mirror so that the healing from your partner happens. This would be the second step. The third step is when we have healed already our jealousy, so we are not usually jealous or, without a reason. Second, we overcame, or we know how to deal, even if it didn't happen, we know already how to deal with jealousy from others. We know how to act correctly. The third one is when we have already these two very clear, and betrayal happens, or we don't have it and for some reason betrayal happens, then you need to take step 1 and 2, but there is a third one after this. So the third part will be covering how to heal when we are betrayed, when it comes to this jealousy topic, when it comes to in our marriage or when we are committed, when we are betrayed in this way, like some infidelity, something, how to heal from that. So today, we focus on the jealousy that we feel. This is usually a topic that appears early in life, that's why they are somehow, the order is 1, 2, 3, because usually first we go through, or some people don't, okay, but some women, especially happens sometimes to high-achieving women, because they cannot be relaxed in their feminine, they struggle to to feel their value, to know their value without achieving things. Because we are high achieving, we are focused on achieving, and we feel sometimes that if I'm not achieving, then I'm not worthy of love or whatever. So this is a common thing that we really need to address, and that's why we are doing it. And usually this type of jealousy is like somehow innocent, comes from a level of awareness that is a bit lower. But even if we are vibrating very high on the level of consciousness, sometimes we can still have it, we can still have little traces. But usually the younger we are, the more we have this type of jealousy, because it's something that we need to educate ourselves and reprogram ourselves. So before going into my story and into specifically Neuro Linguistics Programming, these 3 steps in Neuro Linguistics Programming where we heal this jealousy, something key to take into account for this topic of emotions, for this topic of jealousy. First, jealousy is not the problem. It is a disturbing emotion. Why do I call it like that? Basically, because I use the Buddhist language and the Buddhist term for it, because I'm Buddhist practitioner, because it's my practice, it's my philosophy, my religion, and then that's why this is how it is described in Buddhism. So for me, you will always hear me say disturbing emotion. And what is special about the Buddhist consideration for disturbing emotions is that the focus is not suppressing it. The focus is to be aware of it, to not react in damaging ways that will affect you later, your karma later. But the focus is to be aware and to transform it into wisdom, into compassion, into all the abilities, all the skills that will help us be better and improve. So we transform it. We don't suppress it, we transform these emotions. Second point is, it usually comes and is usually signaling fear of abandonment, loss of control, threat to the bond, whatever the bond it is at the moment, and insecurity around self-worth, what we were talking about, high achieving. We have some insecurity around our self-worth, and then the moment we stop producing, we feel like we are not worth of love, or we are not worth the pursuing of this man that we are dating. So, in rotational dating and dating for marriage, specifically here, the nervous system is usually not used to non-exclusivity. Most of us, or not most of us, but many of us, sadly, we were not brought up and educated into how to do rotational dating. Many of us, we had to learn the hard way, So we learned through abusive relationships and divorce, and through many things we learned that rotational dating is the right way for us, because it creates the type of marriage that we want. And the thing is, we learn it already. But what happens? Our nervous system, this is maybe new for us, even if you learned it 5-10 years ago, at some point it may be new for you. So we are not used to this non-exclusivity that we are dealing with, Maybe our preferred man he already expressed that he's exclusively dating us, but we are not. Until we don't have the ring, we don't become exclusive. So the nervous system is definitely not used to this system, to non-exclusivity. It is strange for it, but it's definitely the right way to not feel the bond on the incorrect man, to give us all the whole picture so that we can make the decision, even so the nervous system may be confused. Second is, the ego wants certainty. That's why it is so hard, because the ego wants certainty, but at this point we know we must not listen to the ego. We must listen to our awareness. We must be very aware. We must have a dating coach or a friend who is holding us accountable through this process of rotational dating. Or we may end up, just going to the first man who is proposing to us. And we really, maybe the first one is the right one, but the thing is we need to really make conscious decisions. The third one is the body goes into survival mode. So in this rotational dating for marriage, this style, the body can easily go at some points, in some moments, into survival mode until we get to a certain point, or until we train ourselves not to feel afraid, not to feel in fear, until we learn the correct ways to avoid survival mode situations. Until we learn to say, okay, this man wants to date this way doesn't feel safe for me, therefore I don't date this man. And this takes a lot of boundaries building. This takes a lot of wisdom to say no. Whatever you like, no, is whatever I feel safe. Because if you feel safe, he will also benefit from that, And if this man doesn't know or is not willing to adapt, so that you can really provide the openness and the big gift that we women are when we feel safe, then, is his problem. So what would be the core message here? It is not about eliminating jealousy, but about reprogramming the internal response when it appears. And this is where my work of mixing Neuro Linguistic Programming with body work, through somatic, through my performing arts experience, which I apply into all of this, through language, because my studies in linguistics help me to introduce this body and speech and neuro-linguistics programming and merge it together. And of course, consciousness come in. And they appear and they merge, and that's when we can really work with it. Before we go through to the neuro-linguistics programming part and the 3 key points, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, short story, but pure gold, about how I healed, or at least started healing, and was consciously starting healing from this. Because this may take actually a lifetime, but there is usually a point when you work with it and you realize, okay, now I'm healed at least 80%, maybe the rest of your life you heal the other 20%. But when you suffer extreme jealousy, how I was feeling when I was 19 or 20, then you need to really take extreme measures and really hire someone to help you, or do a course, or really, depending on the level, do one thing or another, but you really need to make a step, towards it. So I was 19, 20 years old. I was in my first relationship, and it was all good. Nothing that I know that he was doing anything wrong or flirting or anything. He was just a regular young man in university like I was. He was older than me. And you know how it is in my country, when you're in university, you hang out in groups like men, women, and so on. And this is, I was doing, he was doing, we were hanging out together, there was nothing hidden, everything was good. But what happened, I started suffering from intense jealousy. And I even had psychosomatic symptoms, because when I was 19, 20, it was the time of my life where I still was suffering from psychosomatic symptoms. I was getting sick. I was getting this yeast infection, this overgrowth of bacteria in my gut. I was having a few issues, also constipation. Like, I was dealing with a few psychosomatic symptoms and somehow even sickness, I will talk more about it in another video, but I was suffering from this a lot, and this was part of it, because I had so much unhealed trauma. I was not healed yet, and I was so stressed, and I didn't know how to deal with emotions back then. And what I didn't understand back then, that it was abandonment trauma. I suffered it in silence. This is a very feminine pattern. I was not annoying my boyfriend at the time so much about it, but I was annoying myself because I was suffering in silence. I was keeping it all to myself. So this is really almost like suppressing. And the trigger for me was other women, even very innocent situations, like borrowing, the notes you were taking in a class, oh, I'm meeting this lady from my class to exchange the notes from our class. Even that's, I remember, because I knew deep inside me, like, wow, this is so silly, and still I feel so triggered. So what was the first step that I took? Wanting to heal. So at some point, when we were together in the same city, I was suffering because it was very intense, but I could still deal with it. But I decided to take action the moment when we were studying abroad, both at the same time, in different cities. I mean, it was like 3-hour ride or train ride from each other. But I knew this was gonna trigger me even more. So that's when I decided I want to heal. I hired a therapist, and I started doing tapping, awareness, body language, and spirituality, and merging it all together. So I was merging my specialties, because back then I was already in performing arts, I was already a ballerina, and I was already able to be in my body in a way, even though I didn't know all the theory about it, or all the somatics. I did not study Peter Levine, for example, back then, but I was somehow starting to apply everything about it. And what I discovered, that I wasn't toxic, I was dysregulated. And I started there this healing process. And I started healing. And I healed through these 3 key steps to Neuro Linguistic Programming to heal jealousy, which is the core of what we're going to do today. So after giving you a little bit of the gossiping about my story on how I healed this, I'm going to tell you just the basics of what is Neuro-Linguistics Programming. So, Neuro-Linguistics Programming studies how language, mental imagery, and the body create our automatic emotional responses. If you change the internal structure, the emotion changes. So it works with neuro, how the brain encodes experiences, linguistics, internal dialogue, words, meaning, and programming, repeated automatic patterns. So here, if you think about it, we are dealing with the codes in the brain, our internal dialogue and the meaning of the words we use, and the power of habit, which we also talk here in this channel a lot. Because it is the repeated automatic patterns. It means we need to create a habit. If not, the words and the meanings we change doesn't matter. If not, the codes in the brain doesn't matter. It has to be all together. We have to program it by habit, by repeating. So yes, jealousy is not who you are. It is a learned program. So watch out, because we can change it. So let's go directly to the steps. First, identify the internal trigger. This is called Neuro-Linguistics Programming Awareness. So the Neuro-Linguistics Programming question would be, what exactly happens inside me the moment I feel jealous? How to reply to this question? We can just journal about it or think about it, and I'm going to give you a guide on how to reply it in a more whole and complete way. So there are some sub-questions under this question. What exactly happens inside me the moment I feel jealous? Which will be, what image appears? For example, him with another woman, abandonment, humiliation, betrayal. Second, where do you feel it in your body? Could be in the heart, in the throat, in your belly. Usually they are the most frequent ones, but sometimes it goes to places like my right feet. Sometimes it is like that. Next one, what internal sentence appears? For example, I am not enough, I will be left, I am not special. This already, just asking yourself this question and writing about it or thinking about it, this already lowers the intensity, because you move from fusion to observation. You go directly into your awareness as if you were meditating, actually. What is the step number 2? We reprogram the internal language. How? Through linguistics. Here is where I come with my studies in university. I didn't know I studied it for that. I thought I was going to be translator or interpreter or something. But turns out my linguistic studies were meant to be for healing. Nice, right? So here is my strength when it comes to linguistics. Another example, like the best example we can give about it is automatic belief, So usually an automatic belief can appear. For example, if he dates other women, I am not valuable. And this is a typical one in rotational dating when we are starting. So we may think, if he dates other women, I'm not valuable. And this, is hurting your ability to open up to this man that you are also dating while dating other men, because you are dating for marriage, you are rotational dating. How would we reframe this example? His dating does not define my worth. My value is stable. And another one is, jealousy is a signal, not a command. Important here, when we are doing this linguistics process of the healing, is to not fake affirmations. For example, I don't feel jealous. This is not true. If you are saying I don't feel jealous, it's most of the times because you feel it, So if you are faking affirmations, you are really not regulating, you are really not changing the message. You are suppressing it, and this hurts even more. So what we will do is use regulating affirmations like my value is stable, or safety-based affirmations. For example, knowing that jealousy is a signal, not a command. This brings us safety. And this is key for rotational dating specifically. Step number 3, we anchor this bodily response. So we create this new bodily response so that we can exit this cycle. So this would be a mix of Neuro Linguistic Programming and the performing arts techniques that I was developing through the use of the body, through my contemporary arts and theater knowledge, that everything combined, I apply together and mix it with the Neuro Linguistic Programming healing style. So this is very me, and I know, so don't be scared. We will first recall a moment when we felt safe, desired, or grounded. And when we recall this moment, we will notice the posture, the breathing, and the bodily sensations that we had. And once we have it, we are feeling it, we create an anchor. For example, hand on the chest, or a specific type of breathing, or a keyword like I am safe, for example. And every time jealousy appears, we activate this anchor by touching our heart, touching our hand, everywhere, whatever you decide is the anchor place for you, we touch it, or we do this specific breathing, or we use the keyword, whatever. And this retrains our nervous system, not just our mind, our brain, but it retrains our nervous system and our body as a whole. This is my focus always, body and speech. Not one without the other. Not just giving you rotational dating rules or step-by steps, which also I give for sure. But really retrain body and speech. So this all makes sense. So that the step-by-step that we follow or the rules, really are showing off because we know how to apply in the body and speech and all over our being. So let's just wrap up the 3 key points in this whole video on healing the emotional feeling of jealousy from ourselves, from our own feelings. And let's give it like a few questions and answers that will summarize it so that you retain the main key points. One would be, why am I jealous while dating for marriage? Because your nervous system associates bonding with exclusivity and survival. And we know it takes some time for exclusivity to appear in rotational dating. So this association of bonding with survival is making it a bit slow for us to overcome the jealousy. Second one is affirmations to not feel jealousy. We better say affirmations to regulate jealousy. Because if we say to not feel, we are suppressing, we are putting a lot of pressure on this emotion to not be there. And then it will be there, but suppressed. So the right way to say is affirmations to regulate jealousy. Examples: I can feel jealousy and still choose self-trust. This is a sentence we can use to reprogram our brain. We can repeat it in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night, or in the moment when we are feeling this jealousy. Another one is, I don't abandon myself when discomfort appears. And the last one is, my feminine energy expands when I feel safe inside. These are golden for overcoming jealousy. And how to overcome jealousy, stated step by step in a simple way. First would be awareness, which will be our first step. Second will be language, which will be the second. And the third would be body and repetition, because we anchor it in the body and then we repeat until it becomes a habit. And this would wrap up the NLP process. And what video should you watch next? Of course, the second part of this playlist, how to deal with jealousy coming from the other person. For example, when the man you are dating is jealous or insecure, or your husband, or whoever is jealous about you, how to deal with this kind of jealousy. This is the second video, which is below, so you can just go directly to it and continue through this healing process. And what are some resources that I would recommend if you want to dig deeper into NLP? Would be to read some books of Richard Bandler, because he's the co-creator of this system, and also Marisa Peer, who is very aligned with this using NLP for healing jealousy in relationships. She's very focused on healing this part of the relationships. And Michael Neal, because he explores NLP and emotions and the whole healing process. So those are three authors that I would recommend for this specific video if you want to dig and go deeper. In order to wrap up today's video, which I think will bring a lot of healing to your life, we must say that in Buddhism, we don't suppress disturbing emotions, we transform them. Jealousy can become self-trust if you allow it, but only if we are willing to listen to it carefully, to be aware, and to go through the healing process.